lack of discipline will lead only to disqualification. By self-control, athletes get the prize, and by self-control, Christians get their reward. So what was the reward these athletes stood to gain? They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 25. In the early days of the games, athletes were rewarded with a crown woven of dry celery leaves. Later in Roman times, this was replaced by a wreath of pine. These crowns were organic and perishable, so in 10 or 20 years they would fade to dust. Paul draws a comparison. If athletes exercise rigid discipline for the sake of a disintegrating wreath, shouldn't Christians labor even harder for a reward that will endure forever? Paul doesn't say what this reward is, but his point is clear. The Christian who wins this race receives a prize of immeasurable value and eternal duration. Then Paul provides an illustration from his own disciplined life. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air. But I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others I myself should be disqualified. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 26 through 27. Paul refuses to be like a half-hearted athlete, content to take a leisurely jog. He will not be like a boxer who shirks his training and ends up futilely flailing his fists in the air. Instead, he will be like a runner who is driven to vanquish the competition and like a fighter who has been trained to deliver brutal blows. He applies self-discipline to every part of his life, his body, mind, and soul. He exercises self-control to avoid sin and to practice godliness, to flee immorality and to pursue holiness. He allows nothing that increases the risk of disqualification. He is as committed to the Christian life as the greatest athlete is to his sport. He is determined to win his race, to receive his reward. In Paul's mind, self-control brings freedom. Like an athlete, he exercises self-control to free himself to achieve what he most wants to achieve, to live how he truly wants to live. No longer controlled by illicit sexual desires, he can live in purity. No longer controlled by the love of money, he can be content with little. No longer controlled by the opinions of men, he can be satisfied in living for the glory of God. Self-control is the training regimen that will bring him to victory, the program that later allows him to proclaim this benediction upon his life. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. Run to win. I have written this book primarily for men who are running this race. Women can listen to it too and will benefit from it, I'm sure. 1 Corinthians is an epistle that applies to men and women alike. But I am writing specifically as a brother to my brothers. In this book, I will suggest a number of disciplines meant to help you compete at peak performance and assure you of victory. Each one will be an imperative, a command to consider and obey. Embrace your purpose, renew your mind, prioritize your church, control your sexuality, treasure your marriage, and many more. As I interact with men near and far, as I talk to the men I pastor, as I look within my own heart, I see far too much apathy and far too little zeal. I see men who are content to slumber instead of train, men who treat life as if it's a leisurely jog instead of a grueling race. I see men who are unmotivated, who are uninspired by the imperishable reward that awaits across the finish line. I see men who are undisciplined, who regard self-control as a burden instead of a joy. I see men who are indifferent, who seem to care little whether they break the tape in victory or are shamefully disqualified. I want these men to know that the race is on. I want them to long for the prize, and I want them to begin